What's going on? We back, week 15, 15 weeks in, episode 15, 7 Days of Wisdom, Valentine's Day edition. What else? What else? President's Day edition, daytime edition. First time I'm able to get this off pretty early, 5:21 Sunday, Eastern Standard Time. Hopefully I could fit everything in before we lose light. So I just want to hop right into it. This week, we are going to be discussing the theme's pretty much life hacks, just different ways to hack life and increase your performance and become just optimal and maximize your results in regards to your goals and what you're looking to achieve and closing that gap between what you're looking to achieve and actually achieving it. So let's start with the topic of morning routines. I probably covered this before in the past, but it's very, very important. It's super important because when we wake up in the morning, before we can achieve any level of success in any regard, the first thing we have to do is wake up. Without waking up, we can't do anything. So it's very important that we wake up in the right frame of mind. We wake up and we're able to utilize that time in the morning as effective as possible. Because when we first wake up, we're the most alert. There's science that proves that. When we first wake up in the morning, it's very important that we establish a routine that will enable us to get the most important things done. Whatever's on that list for the day, it's important that we get whatever's most important done in the morning. Therefore, our tasks that come secondary to that are easier to achieve. They seem easier to achieve. We got the hardest thing done, and the day kind of, is set off from there. So it's very important that we set off the day on a positive note. Some routines you may want to consider if you're not doing it already, and you may hear about this a lot, is pray, wake up, be thankful, express gratitude. You can do that through prayer, you can do it through meditation. So just getting your mind in the right state is super important. Physical activity. Some people want to exercise first thing in the morning, do yoga, some form of physical fitness first thing in the morning. That's what gets their blood flowing. That's fine as well. Something that I just now tried, I just got out the shower. It's something called a contrast shower, which is pretty much just a cold shower. Start off cold, go warm, start off warm, go cold. And I started off cold, super cold, and we're pretty much in the Northeast right now. I'm in Jersey, so early this morning it was like 1 degrees. I was actually outside driving. It was 1 degrees in my car, so it was super cold outside. And I was just checking out sort of like a webinar just now on YouTube, and they mentioned a contrast shower. Sometimes you just have to challenge yourself and put yourself in positions that are uncomfortable, because it may start off uncomfortable, then you get used to it. Eventually it becomes comfortable. So when I first hopped in, it's crazy. I was, screaming. One day I might record it actually. Not naked, of course. I put on swimming trunks and just record it just for the fun of it. Just to see it in action. Like, you have to put yourself in uncomfortable positions so that you're no longer fearful. You can do anything, you can achieve anything, and you just condition your mind to want to engage in challenges. Challenge is a good thing. So my personal morning routine, typically, ideally, is I wake up early, like to wake up around 4. Last week I wasn't too successful, maybe one day or so. But for the most part, my alarm set around 4:30. For me to wake up at like 5:30 sometimes feels late. 6 o'clock, waking up at 6 o'clock is real late for me personally. On weekends, I mean, it's a whole nother story. Depending on what I have going on the night prior, may determine when I wake up the next day. So it does fluctuate, but ideally, I like to wake up super early, 4 in the morning, get up, meditate for 10 minutes, do some reading, engage the mind. Reading is another very important, crucial thing to just get your mind going in the morning and get your mind absorbing information and ready for the day, So these are all small morning routines that you may want to consider implementing into your schedule. Maybe not right away, but eventually. One routine at a time, one step at a time. So speaking of that, one last thing. So it also helps, morning routines also help you to gain clarity throughout your day. So when you wake up in the morning, set focus on what you want to achieve, you're able to gain clarity. And once you gain clarity and achieve those goals, you're also gaining momentum. I did this, time to go to the next thing. So it's helping to gain momentum, and you keep that momentum up, and you have a productive day. That productive day leads to another productive day. Next thing you know, you off and running. So back to the implementation of these morning routines, one step at a time, that takes us into small gains. It's very important to focus on the small gains in life, because a lot of times we see something, we want to do it, it's a big goal, we get overwhelmed, we stop doing it. It's too big, we're overwhelmed, we become frustrated. So it's very important that we start breaking down things and setting it up in ways that will allow us to achieve it. So whether you have to write down everything step by step, accomplish it, cross it off, accomplish it, cross it off again. These small steps, each level of achievement, you cross it off the list, and from what I heard, it helps to increase the dopamine, kind of like the achievement dopamine, where yes, I got that done, I'm ready to do more. Next thing you know, your big goal is accomplished. So focus on the small gains, focus on achieving the small goals that lead to that bigger goal. All right, keep the big goal in mind, and this goes into zooming in and zooming out as well. Keep the big goal in mind, but also know what the small goals are that will enable you to achieve that big goal. So that's small gains. Lastly, staying cool under pressure. It's very important that we know how to stay cool under pressure, especially working in a professional environment, especially dealing with people. We live in a socially constructed world. Everything is based on relationships, and we encounter situations that will test our demeanor. For those of you who know me personally, you pretty much know that my demeanor, is well-rounded in regards to being pretty cool and collective for the most part. I mean, I can't even remember the last time I really got into like a heated argument. Like, that hasn't happened, That hasn't happened. I can't remember. If I think back 5 years, it's 2010. I can't remember from 2010 to now the last time I got in a heated argument. And then even prior to that, really, I cannot remember really getting into a heated argument. It just does not happen. But everyone doesn't have that demeanor, of course. There are people who snap like that. There are people who have road rage. Like, that's one thing that, I'm super cool on the road. Like, I don't even like beeping my horn. As long as I control my situation, I know I'm good. So sometimes losing control in a situation may come with actually losing your cool in a situation may come with losing control of the situation. So of course we can't control everything, but what we can control, it's best that with that control we learn how to stay cool. Alright, so that comes with time, comes with a lot of effort, comes with a lot of mindfulness. We have to think, why are we so upset? Why are we getting frustrated? You know, is this something that needs to be, is there something that needs to be discussed? Is there a conversation that needs to be had? Do I need some time to myself? Do I need to just take a deep breath? Sometimes breathing really helps. Just deep breath in and out. You know, it helps. Just taking yourself out of the situation, relaxing, clearing your mind, and then putting yourself back into the situation in a better state of mind, a more prepared state of mind to take action and resolve any conflict that may need to be resolved. So I mean, those are a few things you may want to try out. But at the end of the day, it's really about being diplomatic, being tactful, and knowing everything that's on the table, and just communicating effectively, calmly, warmly, and at the end of the day, you want to do it, you want to have a loving heart. So, you know, you just want to have everyone's best interest in consideration. You know, and take the humble road. There are a lot of times I've been in situations where someone would come at me, crazy maybe, but I would take the humble road and allow them to see themselves. So by taking the humble road, it's kind of like what Bruce Lee says, be like water. Literally, you're like water. You're taking the humble road. Nothing shakes you. You're tranquil. People see that. They could be yelling and screaming at you, but when you're a tranquil human being, eventually they start to see themselves in the mirror. It's like they're just yelling at themselves because their anger is bouncing right off of you as a reflection going back to them. And it's like, wow, why am I this frustrated and angry? Let me stop. Let me apologize. I apologize for that. So being like water, being tranquil, be a mirror, allow people to see themselves through you. That's what I would say in terms of staying cool under pressure. So those are the 3 points I wanted to hit in terms of life hacks, all right, things that we can implement now. Let's get into the quotes of the week. Speaking of achievement, I finally got a chance to finish up A Man's Search for Meaning, and it was definitely a worthwhile read. I would recommend it to a lot of people who are just looking for significance, looking for meaning in their life, which, you know, should be everybody. But it happens that we look for those certain things in different points of our lives. So I'm sure it's something I will use as a reference point. I will use as a resource, just like a lot of books that I read. And yeah, A Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor E. Frankl. That's definitely going to be on my book list, so check that out. So let's get into the quotes. The first one, it is we ourselves who must answer the questions that life asks of us. And to these questions, we can respond only by being responsible for our own existence. All right? It is we ourselves who must answer the questions that life asks of us. And to these questions, we can respond only by being responsible for our own existence. So it's only up to us to answer the questions thrown our way. We have to pay attention to the signs. And through these questions, we're ultimately responsible for our destiny. We're responsible for our fate, our actions, our existence. So that's the importance of that quote. The next one, the quest for meaning is the key to mental health and human flourishing. In order for us to flourish and be at our best and highest level of fulfillment, as Oprah would say, it's all about the quest for meaning. You know, the search for meaning, the search for purpose, the search for significance. You know, in that quest, we become, we put ourselves in a state that allows us to flourish as human beings. And through that, you know, we're able to be healthy and be well-rounded and be well in multiple dimensions. So on to the next one. No matter what happens, we retain the freedom to choose how we respond to our own suffering. No matter what happens, we retain the freedom to choose how we respond to our own suffering. So we choose how to respond, all right? No matter what happens, it's up to us to make that decision about how we respond to any situation. Our response is on us, no one else. That's very important, that we take responsibility for how we respond to what comes our way. Whether we respond positive or negative, and we will get into that also, which is a quote coming up, a positive attitude versus a negative attitude. So it's up to us. Next quote is actually the positive versus negative. So check it out. A positive attitude enables a person to endure suffering and disappointment as well as enhance enjoyment and satisfaction. A negative attitude intensifies pain, deepens disappointments. It undermines and diminishes pleasure, happiness, satisfaction. It may even lead to depression or physical illness. That's actually from William J. Winslade, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. And that was a part of the afterword within A Man's Search for Meaning. So William J. Winslade. Once again, a positive attitude enables a person to endure suffering and disappointment as well as enhance enjoyment and satisfaction. A negative attitude intensifies pain and deepens disappointments. Who wants to intensify pain? Let's get rid of the negative. It undermines and diminishes pleasure, happiness, and satisfaction. We don't want to diminish pleasure or happiness or satisfaction. We want to be happy. We want to be fulfilled. We want to be satisfied. All right? It may even lead to depression or physical illness. We don't want to go through that. Let's keep a positive attitude. Let's avoid the negativity. Put ourselves in positions to win and succeed and rise to the occasion. Rise Up is actually a movie, so you might want to check that out as well. Rise Up. RiseUpTheMovie.com. I still have a tab open, so RiseUpTheMovie.com if you want to check that out. Next quote, there are three main avenues in which we as humans find meaning in life. This is very interesting. Love, work, and suffering. So if we really think about it, a lot of how much of our time in life is spent working. So we can find significance in that, meaning in that. So it's very important that we find the right line of work, which goes back to assignment, identity, and calling in a prior 7 Days of Wisdom video. All right? So work, love is a very instrumental aspect of our lives as human beings when it comes to relationships and connection and fulfilling that. So work, love, and then suffering. Within love is suffering. Within work is suffering. Within the day-to-day life is suffering. It's how we combat that suffering, how we learn from that suffering, that moves us along as human beings, all right? So we can find meaning in those three things: love, work, and suffering. Very important. Very important. Knowing that is very important. It's important, and this is the next quote, just so you know, this is the next quote. It's important that we realize that we could and should exercise our capacity for choice to achieve our own goals. Again, William J. Winslade, in the afterword of A Man's Search for Meaning. It's important that we realize that we could and should, I would say we should exercise our capacity for choice to achieve our goals. We make the choice in regards to the goals we want to achieve. I'm losing so much light right now, but it's all good because you can still hear me. We choose our goals in regards to, we make the choice in regards to the goals we want to achieve, all right? We make the choice. It's within us. It's just about taking action, making that choice, moving forward, all right? It starts with making a choice. Let's make that choice to do what we want to do that will highlight the best version of our human potential. All right? Let's do it. Let's do it. Lastly, Alexander the Great. This is one of Ty Lopez's favorite quotes. Literally just wrote it down. All right? Check it. Through every generation of the human race, there has been a constant war, a war of fear. Those who have the courage to conquer it are made free. And those who are conquered by it are made to suffer until they have the courage to conquer it or death takes them. We don't want death to take us. We want to conquer our fears. We want to be courageous. Once again, one more time, I'm going to read it again. Alexander the Great, one of Ty Lopez's favorite quotes. Through every generation of the human race, there has been a constant war, a war of fear. Those who have the courage to conquer it are made free, and those who are conquered by it are made to suffer until they have the courage to conquer it or death takes them. So let's make this more inclusive. Through every generation of the human race, there has been a constant war, a war of fear. Those who have the courage to conquer it are made free, and we who are conquered by it are made to suffer until we have the courage to conquer it or death takes us. Let's go out there. Let's conquer. Let's be courageous. Let's be brave. Let's be bold. Once again, happy Valentine's Day to all the lovers out there. Hope you're enjoying the evening. 5:44 p.m. Sunday, February 14th. We are signing off. It's a cold one out here in the East Coast. Stay warm. West Coast, continue staying warm. Down south, I don't know how the weather is in Miami, but I'm sure it's beautiful. Worldwide, much love. A Lover's Ambition. Episode 15, 16 next week. I love you all. Peace and love. Take it easy.